Okay, we are recording and we are good to go.
All right, thanks, Director. All right, the March 9th, 2022 Improvement and Services meeting will come to order, and we'll note that all members are present: Alder Gerlach, Alder Scannell, Alder Burnett, and Alder Weary. I have an approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
If it pleases the committee, I would suggest that we take item G immediately. We were supposed to have a public hearing at 6.
I motion to amend the agenda to put G at the top of the agenda.
All right,
Second.
motion by Scannell, second by Gerlach. Everyone's all right with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Then
Motion to approve as agended.
approve as agended? Move as amended, sure.
Yeah,
Alder
amended.
Scannell.
You know, yeah,
Agenda,
motion
I
to
like
approve
that.
as amended.
All
Seconded.
right, motion by Scannell, second by Gerlach. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. And under regular business, everything we deliberate on tonight will get reported to council next week for final deliberation. And we'll go right to D, which is public hearings. Asphalt pavement, Finger Road, Superior Road to Challenger Drive. Director.
Okay, we have a public hearing on March 9th, 2022. In accordance with state statute 66.0703, this public hearing is being held to levy assessments for the proposed pavement improvements, which are included in the 2022 Capital Improvement Program. All projects being considered tonight will be included in contracts administered by the City of Green Bay Department of Public Works Engineering Division. All proposed assessments are being levied in accordance with the city's assessment ordinance. During construction, the contractor is required to provide access to businesses at all times and residences as much as practical. When a residential driveway is inaccessible, the property owners or tenants can receive permission from the city police department to park on adjoining streets. Problems during construction should be brought to the attention of the Department of Public Works Engineering Division by calling 448-3100. Asphalt pavement, Finger Road from Superior Road to Challenger Drive is classified as a local road in a residential zoned area with a few commercial properties. The existing asphalt is a rural section in poor condition and is in need of reconstruction. Finger Road will be reconstructed with an asphalt pavement with curb and gutter over a gravel base and a typical clear width of 27 feet. The 2022 assessment rate for asphalt pavement reconstruction is $69.75 per front foot for commercial zoned used properties. The estimated cost of pavement construction is $270,000. Sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water main rehabilitation and construction will be performed prior to pavement reconstruction. The estimated cost of the sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water main are $40,000, $80,000, and $260,000 respectively. No assessments will be levied for the sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water main improvements.
All right. Anybody here for the public hearing on Finger Road asphalt pavement? Anybody? Anybody here for the Finger Road asphalt pavement? No, I don't think anybody's here. Guess we'll just, do we have to make a motion to close the hearing or just?
You can
Hearing's over.
just state that by
Right.
asking 3 times, you can declare the hearing closed.
All right, one last time. Anybody here for the public hearing on asphalt pavement Finger Road, Superior to Challenger Drive? There is nobody here, so we're going to close the public hearing.
Okay, again, this is one of the pavement projects that we had gotten a certain, to a certain point through the process and had sent the mailings out and things of that nature, prior to this program being delayed until 2023 at finance. So the appropriate motion at this point would be to receive and place on file the engineer's report for the asphalt pavement Finger Road project due to the project being delayed until 2023, and we'll go through the public hearing process next year.
All right.
Motion to receive and place on file.
Motion by Alder Scannell, second by Alder Burnett. Any discussion on that? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We'll do it again here. Number one, consideration with possible action on request by Brown County Library to enter into a parking management and enforcement agreement with Parking Division for the downtown library parking lot.
We still need to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Oh, yeah, why don't we do that?
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Why don't we do that, sir?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Elder Scannell,
Second.
second by Elder Gerlach to approve the minutes. Any discussion under that item? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. All right, now we're on regular business number one. Consideration with possible action on request by Brown County Library to enter into a parking management and enforcement agreement with Parking Division for the downtown library parking lot.
This is a lot that we refer to as Lot L that we have been managing on behalf of Brown County for a number of years. Operations Manager and Parking Manager Chris Purelot is with us tonight, so Chris can fill you in on the details of what we've done in the past and what the proposed changes to the parking agreement are.
Oh, Parking King. Chris Purelot. Mr. Purelot. He's efforting. He's there. We know you're there. He doesn't want to talk to us. I don't blame him.
It's looking that way. Okay, so included in the packet, we do have a copy of the proposed parking lot enforcement agreement. I believe the way that what we've done in the past is we've got meters in that lot, and there is some sort of a revenue split between us and Brown County for the meter revenue that's generated. What we're looking at for this agreement, library it authorizes the city to install and maintain the meters, enforce all relevant parking laws, and collect the meter revenue on behalf of the library. Library is responsible for the construction, maintenance, and repair of all surfaces, curbs, median, sidewalks, underground facilities, fencing, lighting, signing, pavement markings, and associated landscaping. The library gets to designate if any of those stalls are reserved for their use or other transient metered parking. They get to define their own rates and hours of operation from the lot. It's exclusive of the approved rates that the city has for our own parking facilities. We're simply administering or managing that lot on their behalf. We will install and maintain the libraries at the direction of the library. We will enforce all parking restrictions during normal parking hours. Library retains the right to have vehicles ticketed and towed if they are in violation. City will summarize and forward all revenue to the library on a quarterly basis. The library will pay to the city $9,000 annually for our services described in the agreement. There are some provisions in here for us to review operational expenses with the library and adjust management fees as necessary, no more than once annually. Any change in management fee or parking meter rates take effect on January 1 annually. Term of the agreement is for 5 years, retroactively beginning on January 1 of 22, ending December 31 of 2026. There's an indemnification clause in there, and that's pretty much the sum of the agreement. So what we would be seeking at this time would be a request to approve we'd be looking to approve the request by Brown County Library to enter into the parking management and enforcement agreement with Parking Division for the downtown library parking lot, parentheses, Lot L, subject to any necessary minor editorial amendments by law department.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Elder Scannell to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Elder Burnett. Any discussion or questions on that? Those in favor?
Aye.
That passes. All right, and on to number 2. Consideration with possible action to direct Department of Public Works staff to develop a comprehensive plan for green infrastructure for the city of Green Bay, as discussed at the city council meeting Wednesday, February 16th, 2022. Alderperson Dorf.
Thank you.
So this was what was asked for before that council had wanted to move forward with any of the green infrastructure projects. And I also draw your attention to the resolution that council passed on March 2nd, 2021. The last paragraph, be it further resolved, the Common Council hereby resolves to work to restore and protect water resources for the present and future through the management of stormwater with high quality engineering and green infrastructure, continuous work to reduce air pollution and the protection of life and property from flood related hazards. And we passed that, the name of that resolution was the resolution to value and protect our local waters. So I think there's some precedent here that this is certainly the will of council that green infrastructure moves forward. Then I'd like to see this committee direct staff to develop this sort of plan. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Questions from the committee or any comments? I'm glad you, well, go ahead, Alder Burnett.
Yeah, I mean, Director Grant, thank you, Alder Dorf. I think the stormwater utility ordinance is very relevant in this regard. You know, if there's like an infrastructure policy that the council can review so that, you know, we can state as a government body we're supportive, because I like the idea of green infrastructure. My main objection was the cost and the piecemeal approach that it seems like we're doing. So something a little more substantive so we can look at what projects are being slated, how much a typical project costs, what is the benefit of project compared to the cost. That's what I'm kind of looking for. So Director Grenier, you know, the stormwater utility ordinance is like over 30 some pages. Could that be used as part of the green infrastructure? Is it similar, do you think?
Well, I to be honest with you, I think there's several components that would go into this. One of the things that has been worked on, but has not yet necessarily come forward yet to Common Council, we did an audit of our existing ordinances that was intended to remove barriers to green infrastructure and to promote the use of green infrastructure. Those audits worked on codes that are applicable both within the public right-of-way and on private property. So those will be forthcoming to the Common Council for review and potential adoption. In a larger scale approach to this, we were supposed to have a presentation from the Sustainability Committee at our last Common Council meeting. And
Okay.
What sustainability was going to do was going to lay out components of their annual work plan. One of the components of the work plan includes an approach to green infrastructure. So if the council were to adopt something here with Alder Dorf's communication, our recommendation would be to approve that and have staff work through the Sustainability Commission, because sustainability has taken on sort of this green infrastructure initiative as the point. And then as individual needs come back, they may need consultant services, for instance. So I would work collaboratively with the sustainability coordinator to identify what those needs would be, where the funding sources would come from. We'd come back, request that of the Improvement Service Committee and the Common Council, and continue on down that path. But this at least gives us some direction to prepare that more comprehensive plan, so we're not going about it on a project-specific basis.
Yeah, thank you for that answer. I guess my only concern with, I respect the Sustainability Commission. There are a lot of professionals that is what they do. Not quite sure the qualifications of all the members. I know we have confirmed their appointments, but I kind of rely on the city staff. You know, you're the credentialed experts who draw salary from the city government. So I want to make sure that whatever the Sustainability Commission is charged with, that we are 100% on board as a council what specific things they'll be doing. Because you know, we could take their recommendations, but like I said, as a governing body, the city council, we're a large part of agreeing on the funding of those projects. That would be my concern, because it's one thing for a sustainability commission to say green infrastructure is the preferred thing to do, but they don't always understand the financial pressures perhaps that the council is aware of.
They would not be operating in a vacuum. They'll be working directly under the direction of Melissa Schmitz, but working in collaboration with Matt Heckenleibel, the utility manager, Jim Burnett, and myself.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
like I said, spell that out though. I mean, I don't know what motion you're looking for specifically, but I'd like a little more detail so we know exactly what that structure would look like and who would report to whom and how decisions would be made. That sort of thing is what I'd be interested in. So like a refer to staff, in my opinion, to develop the framework of that agreement, I think would be more appropriate than to pass any other motion tonight.
All right. Thank you, Alder Burnett. Were there any other hands raised on this one? Alder Dorf?
I feel like that's what my motion was, that we're asking staff to develop this plan so that it's comprehensive, so that we can understand what, all the things that will be involved. So I don't know, how would you want me to change that motion? It's to direct the Department of Public Works staff to develop a comprehensive plan for green infrastructure. How else
Yeah.
could I change that?
No. Thank you. I understand that. When Director Grenier was speaking, I thought he was kind of mentioning that the Sustainability Commission would kind of set the policy. Director, did I hear that wrong?
I may not have explained it correctly either. Sustainability would be our sounding board and would form part of that team that we would work with. It would always be done in collaboration, but Department of Public Works would be lead agency on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Alder Burnett. Anything else, Alder Dorf? No?
Not right
Okay.
now.
Alder Scannell?
The Sustainability Commission cannot set policy. We cannot. We don't have that authority. We're advised strictly, and we work with, Melissa works with Director Grenier and his department extensively. So anything coming from sustainability is just going to be a recommendation. And I know we need to start, as a commission, taking costs into effect to some degree, but actually, that's not the Sustainability Commission job either. That's the council's job. This is what's going to need to be done, and this is what it's probably going to cost, and then it's up to you to do it or not, and where are you going to get the money? I mean, that's just, that's our job. So.
Yeah, and I might have understood it poorly. I'll own that if that was my error. I apologize. One thing that Director Grenier, a little more direction on, could there be tax incentives or projects that private enterprise could do, perhaps on property that they own, so the city doesn't necessarily have to do these green infrastructure projects as a public, entity, but perhaps private enterprise could be encouraged to develop these projects on their land. And I would assume that would be incorporated in whatever plan is created.
I agree with you, Alder. I think what we would like to see, what we would like to develop is as the name implies, a comprehensive plan. And that comprehensive plan would include improvements that could be made within the public right-of-way, which would be more public owned projects, and then also projects that would occur within the private sector. And I think pretty much everything is on the table for consideration at this point. Obviously, economics are going to play into it, but I could definitely see the possibility of having some incentive programs to incentivize property owners to install green infrastructure. We've already approved the $60,000 towards rain barrels. So, other programs, grant programs, loan programs, zero interest loan programs, loan forgiveness programs. I think there's a whole raft of things that could be considered, and that's what I would be looking to be developed as part of this plan.
Okay,
Thank you. Thanks, Alder Burnett. Alder Gerlach?
Is there a stated goal or purpose for this plan?
The stated goal or purpose of this plan would be to develop a strategy. Well, I think first of all, what we're going to be doing is looking to find out where green infrastructure is applicable as a stormwater management and environmentally sound practice, and then to develop a strategy for where those particular technologies could be implemented both on private property and in the public right-of-way.
Thanks, Alder Gerlach. My apologies, I have about a minute before I have to bug out, but my only comments would be, and we've had discussions on this over the years as, you know, that subcommittee kind of came about, is to always kind of look at the cost, because, you know, that's just part of it. A green project doesn't mean do whatever you want at whatever cost, right? I think we can all agree on that. And so if we can get some goals that are long-term and short-term, you know, the goals and strategies, short-term, long-term, so we can all understand that. And then I think really what would be helpful is a presentation to this committee of what some of those proposals are, because we even saw at council, everybody's idea of what a green road would be was wildly different. And so I think if we could bring that back down to this committee's level and have a presentation to here, this is what this project, you know, will do, and then we'd all understand it better, and then just have a good cost benefit analysis of what it's going to mean. I think we just, the more we understand, the easier it'll be to make informed decisions. I think we're all behind, you know, changes need to happen, but we just need to do it smartly. Any other questions or comments, or did we have a motion already? I don't know if we do.
Motion to
Okay.
approve, to set to refer staff.
Okay, and then we'll see this back at some point. So motion by Alder Scannell,
Second.
second by Alder Gerlach. Any discussion on that? Thanks for bringing that forward, Alder Dorf. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passed 1-0. All right, my apologies. I need to bring my son somewhere, and so I think Alder Scannell, you're next up, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
vote is
Again,
yours
from
to
here,
roll.
hey, drive safely.
Have a good evening. Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We are ready when you are, Alder.
Okay. Then we're on to 3.
Correct.
Consideration of possible action on review and approval of the 2021 Annual Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Storm Water Report.
We have included in your packet a memo from Matt Heckenleibel, the utility manager, discussing the stormwater program highlights. If you've been with the committee for any period of time, this should look pretty familiar to you. So again, what Matt is describing in this memo are the actions taken by the stormwater group to continue with compliance towards our DNR MS4 permit. So talking about the outfall sampling, the GIS mapping updates, biannual inspections of our stormwater ponds, street sweeping, leaf collection, outfall maintenance, the fact that we did complete the South Shore Dike reinforcement project last year, working on the Museum Place lift station, and our trapping statistics. So we identified that we had the trapper engaged again, and in 21 we were able to remove 124 muskrat from city-owned facilities. Participating in the Watershed Alliance, public service announcements on WTAQ talking about yard waste and leaves in the road. The resiliency coordinator completing continuing education and outreach efforts covering green infrastructure and low impact development. We modified one of our maps to be more user friendly to identify businesses that hold permits. Cleaning of our catch basin, which is an annual program to make sure that the catch basins are open and ready to receive water and not containing sediment, because then that sediment gets stirred up and goes down the sewer and ends up in the receiving waters, which is what we're trying to avoid. So that's kind of a high-level summary of activities. What we would be looking for is an approval of the 2021 annual Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Stormwater Report, and to authorize the director to submit that report to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources.
There a motion? Alder Gerlach?
I will Move to approve the report and its submission.
Motion by Alder Gerlach. Second?
I'll second that.
Second, Alder Burnett. I got a question. What do we do with all the muskrats?
That's my question. You don't kill them, do you?
I don't know what the actual, I can't speak authoritatively to what the fate of the muskrat is. When it leaves the site, it leaves with the trapper, and that's all I know.
Good eating, muskrat. Mm-mm.
I think we need to find out what to do with the muskrats and the woodchucks.
No, not woodchucks. We've only trapped muskrats.
No, but there's some, I read this report. There's woodchucks in the report.
I was
couple.
unaware of the woodchucks.
There's a couple woodchucks in this report.
I'm sorry, there were 5 woodchucks.
Yes, you see?
I missed
You
them
don't
too. I
get
didn't see
anything past me.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously.
We're ready.
Ready for item number 4, consideration with possible action on the review and award of the following contracts. Do we need to take them separately or can we wrap them up together?
Well, I think it'd probably be better to take them separately.
Okay.
Unique circumstance.
Yep. Item A, 4A, ESG 2-22 window replacement.
The summary of bids for the East Side Garage window replacement has been included in the packet. We opened that bid on March 1. We had 2 bidders. The low bidder is IEI General Contractors in the amount of $80,749. Staff recommends award of the contract to the low responsive responsible bidder, IEI General Contractors, in the amount of $80,749.
I'll take a motion.
Move to approve.
second.
Motion by Alder Burnett to approve, seconded by Alder Gerlach. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That is approved. 4B, Parks 2-22, Arnie Wolf Sports Complex parking lot expansion.
Okay. I'm looking to see if I can pull this one up. The issue with the next 2 is we only opened the bids yesterday, so there was no way for us to amend the council agenda and get this stuff loaded in time. Yeah, I've got that. I'm trying to see if I can pull it up on the screen as well. Okay. Part of what goes on with our new bidding software, when you have a alternate bid, it does a summary and it adds the base bid to the alternate, so it looks like a super inflated bid, which is why I can't get you the summary table at this point in time. So what I'll do is I'll read off from the memo that was provided to us by the Parks Department, and then we will have a summary table for the report that goes to Common Council next week. Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Department supports the awarding of the base bid to the low responsive responsible bidder for Parks 2-22 Arnie Wolf Sports Complex parking lot expansion to Advanced Construction for $295,084.43. Below is a summary of the bids received. And we had 4 bidders. MCC Incorporated had a base bid of $308,854.30. Base bid plus alternate was $333,735.11. Advanced Construction had a base bid of $295,084.43. Base bid plus alternate was $347,661.05. Peters Concrete had a base bid of $308,079.56. Base bid plus alternate was $349,806.87. Vinton Construction had a base bid of $335,472.58 and a base bid plus alternate of $380,383.73. And like I said, I'll provide a copy of this memo from the Parks Department as part of the council report. The recommendation is to award to the low responsive responsible bidder Advanced Construction for the base bid of $295,084.43.
I'll take a motion.
Move to approve that.
Second.
Motion by Alder Burnett to approve, seconded by Alder Gerlach. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. 4C, pavement repair 2022.
Okay, this also was bid yesterday. So what I'm sharing with you is the bid results. We had two companies bidding, Fisher Ullman Construction and Al Dix Concrete. Fisher Ullman is the low responsive responsible bidder in the amount of $1,272,355. Al Dix was $1,755,675. So recommendation is to award to Fisher Ullman Construction, low responsive responsible bidder, in the amount of $1,272,355. And this summary will also be included with your packet.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Alder Gerlach to approve, seconded by Alder Burnett. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously. We're ready for 5?
Yes, sir.
And should I take those separately also?
No,
Maybe-
those are all good together
Okay.
because we're simply reporting that out.
Okay. Report of actions taken by the Department of Public Works, granting of licenses. 1, sidewalk builder. A, Allied Concrete Construction, Inc. B, JNS Concrete Services, LLC. C, JD Concrete Corp. And D, Verheyen Construction Company. This be just receive and place on file then?
Yes, sir.
Move to receive and place on file.
I'll second that.
Motion to receive and place on file by Alder Gerlach, seconded by Alder Burnett. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That is received and placed on file. Did. We're on to informational. Director's report.
I have three things for you tonight. The first of which is earlier this afternoon, I was at a meeting of the Brown County Public Works Association, and we had a presentation from New Water. Nathan Qualls and Tom Sigmund from New Water were there, talking about the facilities plan that they are working on over at New Water, and that's a statutory requirement for wastewater treatment plants. The plan does look out over the next 20 years, and what they're concentrating on are capital improvements that might be necessary over the next 20 years. Short version of it is the plant was originally built, I believe, in 1975. There was some major expansion in the late or early 90s, then another big expansion in the early 2000s. So the oldest parts of the plant are approaching 50 years old. Anything that runs 24/7, 365 and operates in harsh environments like a wastewater treatment plant, 50 years is a pretty good life cycle. So we have infrastructure out there that is in need of replacement, and they are looking to invest somewhere in the range of $245 to $370 million over the next 20 years. That comes out to roughly $25 million a year between now and 2032. By way of comparison, between 1974 and 2021, in inflation-adjusted dollars to current year dollars, they have been investing approximately $23 million a year on average over that time frame. So it's not without precedent and pretty comparable or representative of facilities of this size. What that is going to translate into is a need for more revenue to pay off that investment in the future. So they've given us some estimates. We think those estimates are a bit on the conservative side. We will be asking New Water to come in and give a presentation. What I don't know at this point, I'd like to have a conversation with the mayor. I think it might be best to have that conversation with the whole Common Council as opposed to just here at the committee level. We try to hold them to 10 to 15 minutes in the presentation, and it might make more sense to wait until we have our new council seated, because we're going to have 3 new people on there at least. So the decisions that will be made are going to affect our new council. It probably makes good sense to have our new council involved in the presentation so that they're aware of what's going on. So I just wanted to let you know that that is on the horizon, and New Water is planning some pretty significant investment up there in the north part of Green Bay. Second item was relative to this past. Sure, go ahead.
Can I ask a question about that before you go on,
Yeah,
please?
absolutely.
What is the relationship between the city of Green Bay and New Water?
We are a customer of New Water.
Okay. That's all I need. Thank
Sure.
you.
Okay. Over the weekend, we had a pretty significant rain event. Our usual suspects. I'm very careful when I pick my words when we talk about water. We refer to this as street ponding. If it doesn't have an impact on private property and there's no property damage, that's not flooding, that's street ponding. So we had a lot of street ponding in that particular event, but not a whole lot of flooding. And any flooding events that we were aware of, that we've heard of, have largely been the result of backyard water. Because the ground is frozen and water can't infiltrate through the soil to get down to people's sump pumps, it's finding places of opportunity, which typically are window wells or things like that. So we're getting a lot of ponded water in people's backyards that are finding window wells or things like that that are causing damage, but we're not getting flooding due to sewer events. So even in the areas, our usual suspects that we had street ponding, a lot of that was caused or exacerbated by accumulated snow and ice pack in the gutter, which a lot of the rain did away with. And then when the rains came and we had the high runoff, it carried a lot of street debris into the inlets. And because in the wintertime we don't have street sweepers out, that's been kind of hard to manage. But overall, my opinion, I think the city fared pretty well given the type and duration of the storms that we had. And as we continue to move on through the spring, we'll keep an eye on storm systems as they come through to make sure we're addressing things appropriately. Last item that I had for you, I think I've told you in the past several months, we've had some pretty heavy turnover, especially on the utility side. In engineering, we lost both of our utility engineers, one aide and one tech. I'm happy to report that we have successfully hired one of the 2 utility engineers, and we will have an individual coming on board April 4th. So once we actually get him in here, get his physical done, and we can announce a name, we'll be happy to let you know who that is. So that concludes the director's report for tonight.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Move to receive and place on file. No, there's nothing to receive. You didn't write it, right?
No, you can receive and place on file and oral.
Okay.
Alder Burnett?
Yeah, thanks for that explanation, Director Grenier. As you can imagine, I received some calls, and you are correct, it's mostly homeowners who had some flooding in their basements. And one gentleman with the backyard of Arabian says that the city owns some land back there, and they're concerned that there's not, proper trenching or cleaning of the lower side. I'll forward you an email, but
Excellent.
For the sake of this meeting, is there any concerns there that people would have regarding, city-owned property with flooding there, causing flooding on properties?
Nothing that I'm aware of, but if you've got instances that we need to take a look at, by all means, send them over and we'll get out and take a peek at them.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
And you seconded that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Man, my backyard, I've never seen my backyard that flooded. Fortunately, I didn't go into the basement or anything, but boy, oh boy. Was tempted to get my trunks on, but it was a little cold. So we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Next meeting, March 20. What was it? March, where'd it go?
23rd.
23rd. There we go. March 23rd.
And if necessary, we will cancel and go to the next meeting.
Okey-doke. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alder Burnett to adjourn, second by Alder Gerlach. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thanks, staff. Thanks, everyone.